For privacy advocates, a troubling new report. Federal officials are routinely asking courts to order cell phone companies to provide tracking information on criminal suspects, and in some cases, judges are granting the requests without probable cause being shown. That's according to the Washington Post. Civil rights attorney Avery Friedman joins us now live from Cleveland, Ohio. Avery, great to see you.
Nice to see you, Kira.
So, is it legal?
Well, you know, that's a wonderful question, and we have a dilemma. We have this zooming technology which deals with enhanced tracking information. We have 250 million Americans who are walking around with cell phones, but you know what, Kira? No one is really giving a lot of thought to the fact that you're carrying around a GPS, a location tracking device, so law enforcement, thinking we're going to have a better tool to get our hands on law enforcement, are simply going to the communications, the carriers, and saying, give me all your records.
So it is, okay, but you still have to have probable cause to do this, right? Or is there something other than probable cause?
Well, it's a very good question, because that's where the dilemma is. Under our Bill of Rights, under the Fourth Amendment, before anyone, law enforcement, can engage in a search and a seizure, pick up your cell phone information, you're supposed to have probable cause. But you know what? Congress passed two laws that said, well, maybe you don't have to have that highest standard. So, you know, what's happening is some federal courts are granting law enforcement to pick up these cell phone information and this tracking information without probable cause. So the cellular companies don't know what to do. The law enforcement agencies don't know what to do. And for those people that are carrying around cell phones are thinking, I don't want the government tracking me. I haven't done anything wrong.
So does that mean yet we need to see more legislation enacted to try and clear this up because of all the differences within the law?
Well, you know, that's exactly the point. What's going to happen is, because we now seem to have two different standards, a constitutional one, probable cause, and a lesser standard under some federal laws. Ultimately, what we're going to need right now is Congress to consider the issue on what is going to be required before law enforcement gets a hold of your personal tracking system in your cell phone.
Do we know if this is even working? I mean, are they getting these high-value targets, these tough criminals, these fugitives, by doing this? Is it successful?
Well, it's hard to say, because when law enforcement goes in to get its warrant, its order, Kira, that's generally sealed. So there's no way, there's no information gathering where we can evaluate this. One thing we know for sure is that different federal judges are doing different things, and that tells us we need some uniformity in how these matters are being handled.
All right, I don't want to confuse this anymore, but are the laws the same, different, cell phones versus hard lines?
Well, yes, because the technology that we're dealing with is relating to emergency services. All the cell phones now are getting a hold of people like you, Kira, and everybody else saying, hey, look, if you want to keep track of, if you're meeting somebody at the mall, or you're trying to keep track of your kids, then we have this new service. Well, that doesn't exist on hardline. It exists in the cell phone, and that's where Congress has to pay attention.
So could this eventually, I mean, obviously you and I are not fugitives, so we hope.
I don't think so.
Exactly. Not that I know of recently.
Yeah.
Could this affect us, the average person, the non-criminal, or maybe less offenses, or lesser...
Well, yeah, I think ultimately the question is, if law enforcement thinks that Kira Phillips is doing something wrong, they should be responsible to prove to a federal judge that there's probable cause. If not, there's total chaos. The whole protection against search and seizure, and privacy advocates and everyday citizens make the argument, are going to be affected by it, and it's therefore time for Congress to now take a look at this.
It'll be interesting to follow this.
Yep.
Civil rights attorney Avery Friedman.